we made the product. We actually learn every day through the observation that our customers share. And because we were fully concentrated on this one product, we were actually able to find what resonates with our clientele and what resonates with pet parents. Our customers hear from me personally and from my co-founder regularly to better care for their animals. So it's really about education. We don't just focus on the product. It's about, how do you better care for your furry companion on a day-to-day basis.
Welcome to the DTC Insider Podcast, where online business owners come to find actionable tips and tactics to grow their businesses. Now, here's your host, Brian Roisenthal.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the DTC Insider Podcast. I'm Brian Roisenthal, your host, and today I have a great guest. She's a doctor, so I'm going to introduce her that way. I'm joined by Dr. Christine Colamonico, co-founder of Jope. It's an amazing brand, and she'll be able to tell you more about it in a minute. Christine, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Brian. It's a pleasure. I love your emails. I've been a big fan, so very happy to be here today.
Yeah, thank you. So for those who don't know about Jope, could you please tell them more about the company?
Yeah, of course. So Jope stands for Joy of Pets. We're a pet supplement company online, so direct to consumer, but we also work with veterinarians. So I'm a veterinarian, like Brian said, co-founder. We started the adventure in 2021 and we have one product, and our main focus is joint health at the moment. And it's born from personal experience, being a veterinarian, seeing how a lot of dogs struggle with mobility, and then having my own personal dog, Pepsi, who had to suffer through joint issues. And so finding ways to keep him comfortable based in science. And then I wanted to share that with all the other pet parents because I know there are more and more out there every day. And we all want a better for, furry companions.
Yeah. Well, I had the dog myself. She passed away when she was 14 years old. It was a beagle. And wow, she was noisy, she broke everything around her. And yeah, they ate a lot. We loved her. Now I have 6-year-old twins, a boy and a girl. But it was when I was way younger, I lived with my parents and I really enjoyed her. So I love that you're doing something for their health. So could you please tell more about how it all started? When was it? What were you doing back then?
So the reason it started, I think it started before we actually created the company, again with Pepsi. And being a veterinarian, I always wanted to care for animals, but we know how tricky it can be, right? Because they can't speak. So they
Right.
can't tell you if something is wrong. And I had to live this firsthand with my dog Pepsi again, who had joint issues. And so I basically saw the decline. And then I found ways to help him as a veterinarian, really leveraging research. And unfortunately, Pepsi passed away when I graduated vet school. And then I started working as a marketer for some of the pharmaceutical companies. I also did sales. I did some merger and acquisition work with a local veterinary group. And during the pandemic, I guess having a little bit too much free time on my hand with my co-founder, still had this idea of, we're vets, we want to help animals. And I had this experience with Pepsi. So we decided to create a company to bring to market supplements more specifically. In the pet space, supplements are actually not regulated. So there's not, like a official body that regulates supplements. And unfortunately, a lot of them out there are not rooted in science. So when we saw what was available on the market versus what the science was telling us could actually help our furry companions, we saw a big gap. And so we really wanted to basically go back to science, review scientific data to then formulate products that we knew would actually benefit pets based on the science that we could find. And so with Pepsi in mind and knowing that there's like 80% of dogs for over 7 years of age that suffer from joint issues, we decided to launch our first mobility supplement. And that happened in 2022. It took about 12 months to formulate the product because we created the company in 2021. And then, manufacturing, going back to the formulation, finding exactly what we wanted. it took a while, but we're very proud of what we have today. And since then, we've been growing a lot, helping many pet parents better care for their dogs. So it's been super rewarding. Many challenges, but it's been super fun and very exciting too because we're launching our second product this quarter. So, and it's going to be a product for both dogs who we're already helping, but also for cats. So, for us as veterinarians, like this is pretty amazing, and we're very, very excited.
I was going to ask you, like, did you have you ever imagined, being a brand founder when you started the career back in the university?
Definitely not. I think a lot of our veterinarian friends are like, "What are you guys doing?" It's very strange. But we really love it, and, my co-founder, Jeremy, and we always wanted to be vets. Like, when you're small and you wanna do something and then you're able to fulfill it later in life, it's pretty cool to know that we're actually, in fact, helping animals. And some like, if you go on our website, you'll see a lot of the comments, and those are really like some are life-changing for certain animals and their pet parents. And that is just very satisfying to us. So we're super passionate. I never thought I would do this in a million years. I thought I'd own my own practice. Turns out, I chose a different route. But I did always enjoy being like independent, trying and failing by yourself and just figuring things out. And we're super happy to do, what we're doing today, like helping animals, working. We're two friends working together, trying to make it in this world. And I guess it's been what, 4 years now, and we're still up and running. So so far so good.
That's a lot because these years haven't been easy. I mean, we discussed this at length here in the show, and since we started podcast in 2021, so this is the fifth season, and it's about to end probably. I mean, the current season because we are, believe it or not, in probably the end of October, so it's crazy how fast time flies. We've been able to discuss live the evolution of e-commerce, only that probably last year we could say, okay, so we have 3 full years since the pandemic, or actually four, 2020, 21, 22, and 23. So we were like, things are shifting in a way. We didn't know exactly, but we knew that there was a hype in the pandemic, of course, as we all know by now. Then
Mhm.
in 2021, there was this crazy iOS 13 update. It was, for those who don't know about it, it's the loss of tracking, So Apple decided that, well, whatever they decided about the privacy, that's amazing. But as advertisers and of course brands, we lost track and everything was more expensive, challenging. And then of course every brand was started to think about profitability, the bottom line, not only growth at all costs. And of course, in 2024, it was an election year, and we were all hoping for 2025 to be the easy year, the calm year. And then, of course, TikTok announced, the sell or buy in January, then the tariffs and
Mhm.
all that craziness. So, what were these years like for you? I know you said that you've been growing, but what what were the conversation, the high level conversations about with your co-founder as everything I just mentioned developed?
So we, for us, again, our training is very technical and like scientific. So we had no experience in e-commerce and digital marketing. So we kind of, learned as we go. That's kind of how we're still doing it. And it's been a lot of ups and downs. We definitely see there's like trends where so we mostly advertise on Meta. We really do most of probably that's where we get most of our clients. And initially we weren't believers in Meta. We thought, being veterinarians are bigger. We thought we'd be able to get more clients through the vet channel. So,
Right.
B2B2C, and that turned out not to be accurate. So we're mostly advertising through Meta, and we have been seeing just some seasonal, I would say, changes in like customer acquisition costs. Right now, for example, it's not ideal. We'll put it that way. But luckily, I think for us, so what we've seen, and I think everybody's probably seeing this, although I'm not the expert, but there's been like a trend where we see customer acquisition costs increase over time since our launch. I think it's due to, first of all, we started with nothing. So the more you scale, you can't always be how do you say, as like you can't optimize as efficiently when you're scaling, although we're trying. But on the other side, we do have like a very good product, and so we have a fairly long lifetime customer value. Uh, And people stay with us because we have a product that works, that actually helps their animal. And we do have a very strong customer centric policy internal. So we have like a 90-day satisfaction guarantee. So we really work on, keeping our customers going above and beyond. And then the quality of the product, I think, also speaks for itself, where people do, want to use our product because they see a difference and it's really impacting the quality of life. So that's where, we see the trend that we read about in like newsletters, yours, for example, just, groups, LinkedIn. But I think where we're able to, still maintain the growth is just focusing on the customers and making sure that, they want to stay with us because we're helping, we're there for them. So I'm a veterinarian, like we said, and I personally review like our customer care interactions. And if we see that, somebody has a question about their animal health, we're going to go above and beyond to try to answer it, give them resources. Of course, always directing them to their veterinarian because in no way are we, prescribing, diagnosing, or curing anything, but we can certainly give them like good resources. We can be there and listen to them when, they just want to tell us their story. So that's kind of where we've been, but we've definitely seen fluctuation and we're working on, tweaking different things like different angles for marketing and how to show how our product is differentiated in a very crowded market. Sorry for the long answer. I was trying to be exhaustive and
This
comprehensive.
is a place for long answers. That otherwise the episode would end after 10 minutes. So don't worry. No, I'm just kidding. So it was interesting that you mentioned, Meta being, more expensive and of course at scale. That's a normal thing. The thing is that, and I just recorded a video about that. I sound like a broken record if you follow my newsletter, and thank you, by the way. It's something that I discuss at length, the strategy, the growth strategy beyond, way beyond the ad account to grow. So if we compare these to, let's say, building, I don't know, a tower of whatever, I don't know if cards, but of blocks, Legos or whatever brand. You try to build a tower and you start stacking the blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, everything is steady. But then, of course, there will be a point that you add one more block and everything will fall.
Yeah.
Right? That's the acquisition as well, if you think about it. And this is the first time I give this example. Surprisingly, I have a new example. So I'm celebrating.
I like it.
This is the parallelism with ads. You start reaching your core audience, the raving fans, the easy to acquire customers through Meta at least. And then as you scale, you reach, far from the center, in the sphere, in the customer sphere, let's say, you start to acquiring people that is not probably as familiar with the brand as the other ones. You need to convince them in different ways. So you need to make these, the foundations of this, let's say, tower I just mentioned, thicker. Otherwise it will fall. So if you make the foundation thicker, it will hold. In ads, what does it mean? I'm not crazy, I promise I have a point. For in the ads world, what it means is that you need to make the foundations stronger, the education stronger. So those people that you're reaching now, they don't know about you, about the brand, they don't trust the product, you're about your claims, because of course they don't know you. You claim that your products are the best and they don't know that they work, they don't know. So it's not about social proof only. It's about building that base through organic content, long form content, short form content, building your trust offline as well, brand partnerships, the B2B as well. But I'm curious to ask you in a minute why it didn't work. And all of that universe outside the ad account that will help you boost the ad account, because once you reach those customers that didn't know about you before, probably by then they could have consumed a lead magnet, a resource, advertorial, your blog, because your videos. And so typically these brands I speak with that are, I don't know if successful, but they do high 8 or high 9 figures. They have over 2 million subscribers on their YouTube channel, over 1 or 2 million followers on each social network. So it's not a coincidence. they focus on delivering a message. They focus on being there or of being known in different ways. And that's why their ads, as a compound effect, are successful at scale as well, because more people know about them. Does
Hmm.
this make sense?
Yes, it's like the top of the funnel situation. No. Where you're branching out, you're educating, you wanna be recognized as, like, an authority figure and somebody who people can turn to not just to buy a product, but to, really solve their questions, answer their question, and become a partner. I think that's what I'm hearing you say with, like, education, making sure you show how you're an expert in your field and you're not just, setting great marketing.
Yeah, it's trying to do what's enough to reach successfully that
Mm,
next cohort of customers that don't know you.
yeah,
You know, it was it's enough until a certain point with nothing organically. You turn on some ads and it works. But then at some point you need to add those layers to support that business. And if you think about it, these businesses I'm telling you about, and you don't need to be that big, 9 figures or so, but the more you do them, the easier and the cheaper it is. Some of them, paid ads is no longer the main source of acquisition. It goes that, to that level of depth for them, But yeah, it's easier said than done many times. It requires from a commitment to recording content, to educating some, let's say, I don't know, have an app that is not a copycat of the website. It's to educate customers, to it's do different things. So it could be many things, right? But I'm curious to ask you now, why didn't B2B work for you guys
yeah,
so
that's
far?
painful.
I'm
Uh
sorry?
I said that's painful. It's a hard question. I mean, obviously it's hard to know exactly. I think so being a veterinarian myself, having worked in the vet practice and I sold products, I work with veterinarians. I think just as a profession, we are slow adapters and we really want to start with science. And so in the realm of supplements where you're not going to have FDA approved studies, where, it's a bit more gray. There's just a very slow adoption. And then for veterinarians who want, it's also a bit more complicated because for veterinarians, they used to have their practice, right? And then they would provide services, but they would also sell retail. And they would be able to sell retail because they would be the one with access to the products and people wouldn't be able to find that products elsewhere. But now, bring in Chewy, Amazon, just e-commerce in general, people can have access to these products much more easily. It's available almost everywhere. And so for veterinarians to want to, go through the effort of stocking inventory, purchasing, all that to sell it with a relatively low markup, which was not the case, maybe 15 years ago. It's a bit of a harder sell. And there's also other probably factors where I don't know if you know, but there's a massive shortage of veterinarians in the US. So there's estimated to be, I think in 2030, there's going to be like 20,000 plus shortage of veterinarians. So we're going to be missing 20,000 vets versus the need.
Oh,
And so these vets who are working, they just don't really have some time to, sit down and learn about a new product because they're just
right.
busy attending to pets. So long answer, but we're not, certain. We have hypothesis, and I will say to date, we partnered with 200 veterinarians. And then there's also a lot because we have a niche product. So we do hear a lot from our customers who say their vet recommended our product because of the combination of ingredients we have. We just don't have necessarily a partnership with that veterinarian. But in the veterinary space, because of how specialized our product is, we actually, I think, are making a name for ourselves and hopefully it's positive. So, it's kind of chipping like at the wall just little by little. And we make sure that whenever a veterinarian is interested, we also go above and beyond to show that we care and that we'll stand behind our product. And, we have reviews on the ingredients we use, we have third party lab testing on our product. So we really put the effort to be premium and to make sure anybody who uses us is confident of the quality they're getting.
Got it. So I wanted to ask you now about product development, but not, sorry, product expansion, not development.
Mhm.
So I have the understanding that you have only one product currently, and you just said that you are going to launch another product, but for cats, isn't it? So you will have one for dogs and one for cats, right?
One for dogs, the joint supplement, and one for dogs and cats, gut health supplement.
Okay,
So it
okay,
will
okay,
be
okay.
the same formula
Two
or
for dogs and one for cat. It will be in the
correct.
okay.
Yes.
Because I was going to ask, what is it like as a brand? For those listening to this or watching this, why not looking to start a brand, or those in the early stages that started with multiple products, or maybe as you with one product. What do you think are the ups and downs besides the obvious, of running a business on one single product?
So your question is, what are the benefits or downside of having one product versus multiple?
First off, why did you decide to go with one product, until 2025/2026? And what do you see that are the benefits or the pros and cons between that?
Okay. Well, so to be fully transparent, initially we were hoping to have two products like right away. However, formulation, it just like manufacturing a product. And for those listening who have a product they manufacture, especially if it's a custom formula, they probably know it's much harder than you would think. So I would say by default in some way, ended up with having just one product for the past 3 years on the market. However, in retrospect, I wouldn't wanna change that, and nor would my co-founder, because it actually allowed us to really get to know our product and get to know it through the lens of our customers too. So, we really learned like, although we made the product, we actually learn every day through the observation that our customers share, and because we were fully concentrated on this one product, we were actually able to find what resonates with our clientele and what resonates with pet parents. And I think it ended up making us much stronger and build credibility, allow us to basically stay focused. And so I actually like we speak about it with again my co-founder, and we're like, we don't think we'd be where we are today. So today we're basically two co-founders, self-funded, no outside investors. We're, somewhat profitable. So we're for us, it's like the dream. Like, we're doing it. We're still small, but we're happy. And we don't know that we would be there because if we had a broader portfolio, we might have, dispersed ourselves. And it was our first time creating a company. So we really just were able to fail, learn, but always staying very focused. And today, why do we think, we're ready to bring a new product? We actually had some just people we spoke with in our network who recommended we only stay with one product and we try to grow it to being, like a 8, 9, 10 figure product, which you can do. But we just want to have like there's different reasons, but as veterinarians, we want to have a broader offering to really help enhance the life of furry companions. But also we think for our company, it's kind of a test because it's one thing to have one product and be successful enough, but it's another one to have a diverse portfolio and be able to also be successful. So we kind of see this new launch as a test for us and, take the company and our team to the next level. And if we're able to do that and have a successful launch and get this product out, we feel like it will be a milestone that for us will be very significant. And it will also be, like you were talking about before, Brian, a solid foundation for future launches. So that's the reason we think it's time. It's like we're a bit antsy to see if we're able to do it. We're 100% aware we might fall flat on our face, but we also didn't want to have, financial partners. We had some people interested, but our point of view is like, first time brand founders, we just want to trial and make errors ourselves and just learn from it and not just follow somebody else's advice. So we're kind of going for the learn it the hard way. Um, s- yeah, so very excited and we hope it's going to launch because we never know, but fingers crossed when we launch this podcast, maybe it will be out. We don't know.
Yeah. So, don't get me wrong. I think that there's nothing wrong with operating with a single product. That's why I wanted to ask you. In fact, we have interview here in the podcast. some brands that operate with some with one product and some with one product category. For example, one of them was an eight-figure brand that only sells belts and buckles, right? But belts, right? So we were like, how did you make it to eight figures selling just belts? Because one thing is what you do. There's a caveat, or a main difference between those two examples, your company and their company. You have customers ideally on a subscription, right? I know you offer subscriptions, right? And we'll talk about that in a minute. They don't. They sell belts. How many belts are you going to buy? I mean, you can buy multiple, yes, but it's not something replenishable or something you need. You don't just offer a subscription. The nature of your product is something that if people love it, they they need to buy it again, right? Because their dog needs it, right?
Mhm.
Or it's been good for the dog. So as you said, it's no coincidence that since your product is amazing, the lifetime value is super high as well. So that's probably a caveat, because I'm asking about this because again, I don't have anything about being a brand with a single product or multiple. The thing is that the main challenge we were discussing a few moments ago about the costs being more expensive, or higher to acquire customers, probably that's mitigated in a way by having more variety to offer to customers when you release new products, when you have a catalog of multiple products and categories to add-on products to the hero product. So that changes the equation because it's not only that one sale, it's probably multiple sales throughout the customer lifetime.
Correct, and, for us too, Brian, it's, like, the reason we really like this product too is, we're setting 2 dogs right now, right? And this is a dog and cat product that we're launching, but there's actually, like, over 50% of people who have a dog who have a cat. And so
I,
yeah,
Please
so,
go ahead.
we wanna be there for their other furry companion too, and, so that's, like, another good reason for us where we were strategic about how we were launching and not just doing another dog product, but also doing one that was for both. And then complementary, obviously, because you can have, you need gut health and also need joint health. And then the only other point too, which you probably know, but one other reason we want to expand our portfolio to more than 2 products even is with the goal to one day partner with retail. And we've been told that retail partners will not really consider, unless you're very big brand, but they won't really consider one SKU company. Like if you just have one product and we have one size, so it's like one product, one size, we're not very sexy for them, right now. So that's
So
another reason.
what's your, and I'm going to tell you in a minute why I ask this, but what's your brand positioning right now? How do you define your brand? It's a brand that helps dogs with their joint pain, or what is it? How do you define it?
For us, it's really just like healthier animals and happier lives.
Right.
'Cause if your animal is healthy, then you're happy and they're happy. So it's like healthy equal happy, and it's true for animals and humans.
Great, because I'm asking because some brands feel that they cannot expand, they cannot create new products because they feel that their current brand positioning doesn't let them, because it's like, I don't know, I always tell the story I once heard about Kodak, the big
Yeah.
company, or once big company we all know, that probably thought that they were, of course it's more complex than this, but simplifying, they probably thought they were in the film roll space or business, but actually they were in the memory preservation business, right? But they didn't see it that way. That's why they couldn't, go beyond their well, that's why they are not the company they were. And I think there a more recent example is Samsonite. If I'm not mistaken, they did a new brand positioning because they were heavily on luggage or
Mm.
exclusively luggage. And now it's more about, I don't know exactly their positioning, but it's something like they help you with creating a better experience when you travel, so it's not about luggage. It's about bags and many other things for your improve your experience when you travel. So that's why I was asking, because your position is perfect to allow multiple products as well.
We were thinking about it, when we started, and we wanted to have a bigger purpose than just sell a joint supplement. So I think
Yeah.
it goes back to being vets. We want all animals to be healthy. Would love to save every single one of them if we could. So we're starting with one dog at a time, bringing on cats, and then we'll see how far we can go.
Yes, you rely heavily, or I would say that, you correct me if I'm wrong, that you rely heavily on, people coming back on subscriptions in this case. Besides having an amazing product and have people come back organically or avoid, high churn organically because your product is great and they need it. Do you do any other actions to prevent people from going away or canceling their subscription or to mitigate churn?
Well, obviously email marketing where it's not we have like a very careful and curated email approach where we educate and we offer promotions too, but like our customers hear from me personally and from my co-founder regularly to better care for their animals. So it's really about education. We don't just focus on the product. It's about, how do you better care for your furry companion on a day-to-day basis. So we do email marketing. We, again, like customer service, we'll go out of our way to follow up with customers. So we're not just answering their questions and moving on. If somebody has a question that should be followed up on, we will follow up. Like, their animal had an issue with their product potentially, or something is, not well, we'll follow up like 3 weeks later to make sure they're okay, even if they stop using our product. But just to make sure, hey, you reached out, this was happening, we're here for you. Just wanted to make sure your dog is okay, that, you don't have anything else you want to share with us. And so I think that also helps. I personally call clients too. So if somebody is really upset, has, a question for a vet, is unsure, like I will always pick up the phone. I'll call them on a Saturday, at 9 p.m. if they call me, no problem. So that's really also how, we're focusing. You were mentioning some, educational. So we're putting together videos that are a bit longer form, more educational, really explaining the science behind our product because it's important to understand what you're using, especially when you're new. So those are the things off the top of my head I'm thinking about. Partnering with veterinary clinics. So when somebody, one of the veterinarians, a professional, so a B2B partner, we do lunch and learn. So it's like, I have a meeting with them digitally. We take an hour. I go over the product. I answer their questions. Really just making sure that we're always available when anybody has a question. And what else? I think those are the main ones I can think of at the moment.
Seeing your customers goes a long way, doesn't it? I mean, it's something I always preach and I tell brands, call your customers. We were talking about subscriptions, right? It could be useful for many things, but why do your customers churn? Do you call them when they churn? Like, not all of them, not every time, but do you gather a sample of customers and call them and ask them? And they say, no, why would I bother them? They don't want to receive my call. They will hang up, or I don't have time, whatever the excuse is. And again, I know people are busy, but if you're building a brand for somebody and you're not in touch with that somebody, you don't open that two-way communication line, then you're always going to be guessing, right? Of trying to find the real reason behind, in this case, churn. It could be many other things. So what would you say to those, fellow founders listening that probably are shy or don't want to call their customers?
I mean, to be honest, I understand because it's not the easiest thing to do, pick up the phone and speak to a stranger, even if you're passionate about your brand. But I will say in the end, I always, even when I pick up the phone, I'm like, oh no, I have a call. I don't really want to do this. Like, so many reasons not to. But I will say that customers have always been like so grateful, like so impressed that I pick up. The only, I would say, kind of, how do you say that, complication is they end up staying on the phone with me for like 15 minutes. And I'm like, okay, now I gotta go. But I will say it's always, like, incredibly just like, it's amazing. When I do it, I'm like, "Oh, I probably should do it more often." It's sometimes it's hard in the day to, like, you have meetings, you need to put out fires. But it really, like, it's always been positive, even when it's a customer who's like super upset, who's, venting on social media, who's like, posting bad comments on our Facebook. And we managed to find their phone number, we managed to find their email, and we call them, and then they're just like the nicest. And then they're like, oh my God, I didn't know. I'm going to go back. I'm going to, like, put another comment on Facebook. I'm going to like defend you. I'm like, no. And so they've always been like just amazing. They don't always need to, resubscribe, because sometimes, for example, they lost their dog, and obviously they can't, or sometimes it just didn't work for their animal too. So we have to respect that. If a dog didn't tolerate it, we need to move on. But I think it allows, first of all, for you, it's great. Like, you remember why you're doing what you're doing. The people I've found are always super nice in the end, like always a positive experience, even if it starts, a bit heated. And then I think it just reminds us, like, what we do. And I've had a lot of people who, why we do what we do, sorry. And then I also have a lot of people who will say, like, oh, it wasn't for me, but I'd happily recommend your product to a friend. I'm going to tell everybody at the dog part about, this company, because like you picked up, you called me, you care.
And,
Like, I'll recommend you to everybody, and I'm super grateful. So
and
it's kind of the feedback we get. And again, as I'm saying it, I'm like, yeah, I should definitely pick up more often and call more. But it's, then it's a balance too. It's like, I think at some point you need to reach out to be in touch and always be available. You also do need to delegate a little bit and then trust the process, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but
I mean, I'm not a brand founder. I work with many, but I'm not one. So I will never tell you you are wrong, you're right. I learn from people like you every single day. So to me, this is gold. What I'm trying to share with you and the audience is that what you're doing right now, as you said, is not easy. Sometimes it's not fun. It's time consuming. And sometimes it's like, is this what I'm supposed to do as a founder? Well, let me tell you something that I see, like what a CEO, founder, whatever the role is for the founder, whatever they are supposed to do changed a lot over the years. Like one very, very successful 8-figure brand I know, and I interview here in the podcast, they build in public. I follow them on LinkedIn. They are 24, 26-year old, more or less, pretty young. And they said, I've never thought in my life that as the CEO of the company, my highest value task could be recording TikToks. But that's my daily life. That's what I do. That's what gets us eyeballs, free eyeballs, like millions of eyeballs. And he also speaks about his setup, far from perfect, wearing the same shirt every time they record. Like he can record, I don't know, 20 TikToks a day, 10 TikToks a day. And it's all about that. And some other CEO listening to that might say, well, that's not what a CEO is supposed to do, hire somebody, but people appreciate that. It's
mm,
his brand is that way. No two brands are the same, nor two brands are equal. So your brand is unique, and you need to play using your advantages, right? Some people, are great on the phone, great talking to other people, and they turn customers into advocates. And as you said, that customer will go and defend you if somebody else says something mean about the product or whatever online. So those are the customers that will say, no, 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 no. They call me and they will tell their friends, this brand, yeah, I recommend that. They even call me. They care. That's a word. As you said, they care,
yeah.
you know. So I believe you cannot do everything, but this is something that I could advise founders to do. Whatever it is, they can do. But one more thing I wanted to add on that is not only calling customers or customers who complain or randomly. Something that I learned from somebody that has been doing it for a while successfully is, or that worked for them at least, is to put these people to call in 3 different bags or cohorts, let's say. Non-customers,
Hmm.
let's say they are subscribed, you have the phone number, but they have never bought, but they are engaged, but they never. One-time customers, those who once said, I'll give you my vote of confidence, but they never come back. They never came back. And the loyal customers. Each of those, as you can imagine, will give you different perspectives. One will give you roses, Hopefully, the VIPs, they are in love with your products. They might have a lot of recommendations for you, a lot of suggestions, but it will be mainly positive because otherwise, they are loyal. And the one in the middle, they bought once but never again. You might get a lot of great feedback because they had the experience, but then what happened?
Yeah.
Why didn't come back? Did they go for a substitute product or whatever it be? And then the first cohort, you know, they won't have information about the product because they don't know. But then you might get from them, the main objections to overcome the marketing as well. So those three cohorts feels less, let's say, random because you have an intent and you can gather with their permission if you go a step beyond and record those calls again with their permission. And today you can put the transcript on the audio file into ChatGPT or whatever tool and build patterns and improve.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've been playing with that idea to just get more insights from our customers. I'll tell you if I do it with the 3 cohorts and
Yeah.
not just, keep reaching out to the people who are very unhappy. But I do think, you have a point, and also it might also depend potentially on your, segmentation because, for example, TikTok you were mentioning earlier is not really the demographic who's purchasing our product, like, people on TikTok are not necessarily the people we're targeting just from an age perspective and demographics based on, ourselves. We've tried it also. Doesn't seem to be something that's working for us at the moment.
Why not? Just curious.
I'm sorry?
Why not? Just curious. Why don't you think your audience is there?
I mean, it's only a hypothesis, right? Because I haven't actually, gathered information or real data. But what we're seeing, at least from like our advertising, is we cater more to, let's say, more senior pet parents because we have a premium product. And it's also, people with dogs and cats who, want to go maybe more in depth in their care. So our demographic is not necessarily the 20-year-old, at the moment is what we're seeing at least. And for TikTok, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not good at TikTok. I tried. I'm not very natural. I love, educating people. I'm always available for a cause, no problem. But TikTok being on the screen is not something I'm necessarily comfortable and comes naturally. So it's been hard for me to put myself out there just because it's just not something I do on a regular basis. And we have tried though. So it's not like, I'm saying, "Oh, we just assume so." We did do it. I did it religiously for like 3 months. It just didn't really drive any sales. Like it drove views, but we didn't see any sales from it. We're focused on something that we know works right now.
That's great. For what it's worth, just if it's useful to know, because I know how frustrating things could be when they don't work for a period of time, let's say a decent period, like you mentioned, 3 months. This brand, eight figure, mid eight figure brand, pretty successful. They always say the same, the CEO, but for TikTok. And like the rest of the team said, you're crazy, that's not going to work because they sell to senior people as well, mainly. And they tried for, listen well, over 8 months until they saw results. And now they have over 1 million or 2 million followers there and a lot of successful things going on. So some people try for 2 months, some people try for three, some people for eight. I guess it all comes down to trying to know how to iterate what to do next, the content volume they create daily or weekly, whatever. Yeah, just wanted to know that maybe it was something that you tried and yeah, it won't work that way. Or maybe it needed more time or needed a different angle. But yeah,
I
just
mean,
wanted to,
we'll see, we can't, we'll probably test again, but we do a lot of try and error, and that's kind of half the fun of it, right?
yeah, of course. Well, I wanted to thank you for coming to this podcast episode. I mean, I really enjoyed, I learned a lot. So I wanted to know before we go if there's anything that you wanted to mention that I didn't ask you that you wanted to tell the audience about. No pressure, just if there's anything that I skipped.
I mean, if you have a dog and, you really want them to be happy and healthy for many, many years, come check out Jope. It's petjope.com, so you'll maybe learn something even if you don't buy. but we are very like focused on helping you better care for your animal. So we're super passionate. I'm also available, like more than happy to. And yeah, I think if you're curious, come see what we do. Just two vets trying to make this world a better place.
Amazing. So thank you for that, and thank you for being on the show again. It was a
Yeah,
pleasure.
Brian.
This episode was brought to you by BSR Digital. We help DTC brands grow through paid ads and email marketing campaigns. If you'd like us to help your business grow, head on over to bsrdigital.com and schedule a call with us.